Yo, what's going on, Vikings fans? You are watching Vikings Down by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and we got a brand new report coming in from Adam Schefter, as he is saying the Vikings are expected to trade for a veteran quarterback before the NFL trade deadline. So coming up, we'll dive into 5 names. But first off, Adam Schefter also said this is not going to be a big-time name the Vikings are going out for. So I'm going to assume that excludes Kirk Cousins. Now, I will say, after going back and watching that Falcons game, just watching Kirk Cousins cut up clips of all of his dropbacks. Even though the offense did not perform well, I will give Kirk credit. He was not as bad as the stat line and the game actually ended up playing out. But still, the Vikings are not going to be trading for Kirk Cousins. So I see a lot of people commenting or speculating on social media. There is a 0% chance that will happen. So we'll dive into the other 5 names here in a second. But before we do so, our bosses challenged us to get 1,000 likes on today's show, literally right when we were about to walk into the studio and film this. So if you guys could help me out, make me look good for my bosses, or help me avoid an awkward meeting there. So hit that thumbs up icon today. If you guys see we're not at 1,000 likes, help us out, change it, go down there and hit that thumbs up icon. All right, let's talk about the first name here. This is an interesting one. We're going to start off with New Orleans Saints quarterback Spencer Rattler. Now, Rattler is officially the backup QB in New Orleans. Ian Rappaport tweeting this out saying, sources, the future is now in New Orleans, with the Saints making their rookie quarterback, Tyler Shuck, their starter. Spencer Rattler now heads to the bench, while the second rounder moves to the forefront in a decision Coach Kellen Moore informed them of today. Now, I didn't really have too much thoughts or even an idea that the Vikings could potentially trade for Rattler, but it was actually other YouTuber Brett Coleman, very intelligent football mind, tweeting this out saying if Rattler was a higher pick, I think he has overall played well enough to get a longer leash than his, but the reality is that he wasn't a high pick. 5th rounders don't get much room to fail. It just kind of is what it is, but he didn't mention the Vikings should make a call, though, considering Wentz is out. So this is very interesting because obviously Spencer Rattler in his second year, being a former 5th-round pick, and he has played decent football for the Saints. Now, obviously turnovers have been a major issue for him over the last 6 quarters specifically. He has thrown 5 interceptions on the year. He also lost a fumble last week. But I will say, when you go throw on Rattler's tape, he has impressed somewhat. He clearly has a very live arm, still a very raw quarterback. Obviously, not at the NFL starting caliber level, but he's put up good numbers. 71.4% completion percentage, 1,500 yards, also on the ground going for 31 carries, 167 yards, and has a quarterback rating of 86.8. But in terms of the Vikings trading for Spencer Rattler, I just don't think it makes too much sense. I would rather go the veteran route, because if you're bringing in Rattler, I think that just throws another name in the quarterback competition. But if you bring in a veteran like a Case Keenum, a Teddy Bridgewater, there is really no debate on who should start. Now, also will say, even if they did bring in Spencer Rattler, J.J. McCarthy is the guy no matter what. But I would rather have them go that veteran route to have another voice in the ear of not only J.J. McCarthy, but also Max Brosman could help the quarterback room, could also help those two guys prepare every single week for game day on Sunday. So Spencer Rattler, I think it's a good idea, but just where the Vikings are at right now, I just don't really think it makes too much sense. But talk about another reunion here. How about a little Teddy Bridgewater? Now, I will say this is very eerily similar to how we were discussing Adam Thielen, where obviously the vibes and the feel-good story of Teddy Bridgewater coming back to Minnesota. Obviously that'll be great for the fans, but we've seen how that Adam Thielen trade has worked out so far. And also, I doubt the Buccaneers deal him. Teddy Bridgewater is a high-end backup quarterback, and Baker Mayfield has been getting hit a lot this season, and I don't think they would want to just upgrade Kyle Trask to the backup. So I would have some doubts there, especially with the Buccaneers, starting off the season fantastic. They got deep playoff hopes, and obviously even if Baker Mayfield got hurt and Teddy Bridgewater go in, that would pretty much kill those hopes, but they would still want to have that high-end backup they could go to if it all goes wrong. Now, I will say this on the Vikings front. You should have signed Teddy in August. Like I was saying on an earlier show, I respect Carson Wentz having the balls, having just the toughness go out there in that Chargers game. Honestly, the last 2.5 games for the Vikings, playing through injury, getting his ass kicked. I respect Wentz for what he did, but Teddy Bridgewater is just a better quarterback. And the Vikings had a chance to bring him back, be that veteran. Talk about a guy that understands NFL. He learned from Drew Brees and Sean Payton when he was with New Orleans before. Now he's learning from, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. So he has a lot of experience in the NFL. So I would have much rather have him come in and be the backup quarterback compared to Carson Wentz, because Teddy, he could help out JJ. He could help out Max Brosman, but I just don't think this is too likely, mainly because why would the Buccaneers have too much interest in dealing out Teddy Bridgewater. But another name, and this is another former Vikings legend here, the Minneapolis Miracle Man, Case Keenum, led the Vikings to the NFC Championship game back in 2017 after Sam Bradford got hurt, and that year was absolutely special. But the one thing is very similar to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation, just different. Is like I just don't think the Bears would have too much interest in trading them in the division. But I will say Case Keenum would be my top choice out of all of these guys we talk about because Keenum, like we were saying, he's a good veteran guy. He can be a good voice in the ear of J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer. And also, he would just be great for the quarterback room. You have that veteran in there. He can help these guys game plan every single week. And also, if you want a quarterback who's just going to get the ball out on time, be accurate. Like, obviously, he's not going to make the wild plays. He's not going to extend it too much. But if you just want a guy that can run your offense at just surface level, at that base level, like Case Keenum would raise that floor. But I don't think the Bears would want to help out the Vikings whatsoever here because obviously the Vikings quarterback situation, as it stands right now, one of the worst ones in the league. It all comes down to J.J. McCarthy. Now, it could quickly become one of the better ones in the league if J.J. McCarthy ends up popping. He ends up looking like a true franchise guy. Then we're talking about this Vikings quarterback room completely differently compared to how we're talking about it right now. And in terms of an interdivisional trade where a veteran backup quarterback go into another team, like the Browns already made that mistake. Like the Browns trading Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals was just a boneheaded decision because now they removed a veteran from that quarterback room when you have two young quarterbacks and Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, very similar to the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't know why they made that move. I mean, Mike Tomlin was killing the Browns for that decision and for right reason. He was saying like, man, like the Bengals, they would just be stuck with Jake Browning. Instead, he just handed him Joe Flacco where the offense in Cincinnati has been humming with him under center. So I don't think the Bears would make that same mistake in terms of trading Case Keenum in the division to the Minnesota Vikings, even if it's like different from the Bengals-Browns situation where Flacco came in and was an immediate starter. They just want to help the Vikings quarterback room out, give them intel of what the Bears like to do. So I don't really think that's likely at all, even if Case Keenum is the third quarterback behind Bagent, behind Caleb Williams. Even if the Vikings, offered him a 6th-round pick for him, I still think they would say no to that. But you guys let me know. Do the Vikings need to trade for a quarterback? Give me Y for yes or an N for no. Now, obviously, I don't think they need to trade for a quarterback in terms of actually going out there and playing on the football field, but I do think it would add a lot of value to just having another veteran in that quarterback room because you got J.J. McCarthy, second-year guy, missed his whole rookie year, so he's still necessarily a rookie. He's only played 2 games. Like you think about J.J. and Max Brosmer, they have 2 starts combined between the both of them. So you need that veteran in there. So I would be typing my Y for yeses. You guys make the call for me. Do the Vikings need to trade for a QB? Now we'll dive into a couple more names here just around the corner. But before we do so, I got to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, the hard-hitting football action is even better on Prize Picks. The weather may be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks. I mean, you can pick up to the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on J.J. McCarthy's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You guys can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit that follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. And on Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go to the Power Play. No matter your play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So download the Prize Picks app today. Plug in that promo code CONS. We'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CONS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Master Job with Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, number 4 here, we're going to go to the New York Jets and talk about their backup quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. Now, the Jets did end up benching Justin Fields the week before last against the Carolina Panthers at halftime. Tyrod came and stepped in, but then he got banged up with an injury, so Justin Fields ended up starting against the Cincinnati Bengals, and he played some good football, so it looks like Tyrod will remain the backup for the rest of the season. But also, I have doubts that the Jets have any interest in moving him. Like, it's very rare you see backup quarterbacks on the move in the NFL because, even if they're not playing, they add so much value to that room. And then would the Jets feel comfortable with just having Brady Cook being behind Justin Fields? Like, I'm sure they love that value that Tyrod brings to that room to help out Justin Fields, who has obviously been struggling this season, but just to have a guy in the ear of Fields. So I doubt the Jets have too much interest in moving him. But again, if they do, the Vikings should pick up the phone. Like, I think Tyrod Taylor would be perfect for J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer. He's been in the NFL for 11 plus, 12 plus years at this point, and as he's just a solid veteran, he can come in, run the offense at a decent enough level if he doesn't need to have a spot start for the remaining 10 games. So I would have interest in Tyrod Taylor. I just don't know if the Jets would have any interest in dealing him to the Minnesota Vikings or just dealing him at all. But another reunion here. We're talking about 3 reunions on today's show. We're going to talk about Mullens and mania. Nick Mullens, who is with the Jacksonville Jaguars as the backup quarterback. The Jags actually ended up bringing Grant Udinski in this offseason. There's the OC, and also, the best tight end tight end 3 in the NFL, according to Kevin O'Connell, Johnny Munt. And, you obviously know KOC would love to bring back Nick Mullens. And, honestly, if this season, if like J.J. McCarthy, knock on wood, if you were, abducted by aliens, I'm not going to say it, but if for some reason he can't go, Nick Mullens would be a hell of an option just for the fan base perspective. Like, you have a guy who's going to throw for 400 yards, throw for 3 touchdowns, but also have 4 interceptions, and all the games would be shootouts for the Minnesota Vikings. So Mullens mania, maybe they bring it back. But again, I don't think the Jags would have too much interest in moving off him either. Now, in the end, this is all about the Vikings just botching the quarterback situation. Like, the fact we're even talking about this right now is just a result of the mishaps that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah made this offseason. And they're the blame for this situation because you were valuing comp picks way too much. Like, they didn't want to go sign Flacco. They didn't want to sign Brissett, Gardner Minshew, because of the comp pick formula. They wanted to get a 4th or 5th round comp pick. That's just idiotic, in my opinion. Like, you had a J.J. McCarthy who was coming off missing his entire rookie season with a torn meniscus. That just can't happen. And they just didn't value it. So I don't really understand that, but they're fully to blame for this situation. And, if I had to pick one, don't really have too much interest in Spencer Rattler. I would probably go Case Keenum, but again, I don't think the Bears would want to move off him. Now, if there's another name I'm not thinking of here, please drop that name down below in the comment section. Name a QB the Vikings should trade for. Who do you want? Let me know your thoughts down below. I don't really think there's too many good options out there. The fact that we were talking about training for a veteran backup is just ludicrous at this point. It just really speaks to how awful the Vikings have handled this quarterback situation. Not only just letting Sam Darnold walk, Daniel Jones walk, but just not valuing having a high-end backup because of a comp pick. Makes no sense to me. But if you guys could hit that subscribe button on your way out, appreciate y'all for helping us reach 65,000 subs here on the channel. See y'all next time. As always, let's go Vikes.